All right. Well, thanks everyone for coming tonight. Glad you've chosen to spend some time with us here. My name is Eric Hattelstead. I'm the Energy Democracy Program Director at CURE. CURE's Energy Democracy Program is focused on strategies to impact climate, energy, and environmental justice decisions affecting rural residents, and building power to address linkages between environmental challenges, inequities, and other systemic challenges facing our communities. So considering that, we have this really great opportunity and project that we're excited to share with you, that is being put together by our friends at Cooperative Energy Futures. And Alan and Timothy here tonight are going to share a little bit more about the project tonight. So Alan, I'm gonna turn it over to you, and yeah, take it away.
Thanks very much, Eric, for putting this together. I just want to confirm everyone can hear me okay before great. Good first step. I am the subscriptions and outreach manager at Cooperative Energy Futures, and been kind of in communication with Eric for a while, just about kind of what we're trying to do. He's ready to assist us in everything that we're about to embark on. But we wanted to give just a good overview to everyone kind of what community solar gardens are about, what CEF is about, and why what we're doing is important. So I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen and just see if everything works out okay here. Can everyone see our clean, local, and ours seal? Excellent. We're off to a good start then. Solar gardens, community solar, it kind of works in a way that you sort of understand. We're going to put a large array up there. The solar panels produce electricity. The electricity ends up as the panels are allotted to our subscribers based on their usage history. And then the power that's produced turns into credits that end up on the bills.
Excuse me, can you speak a little louder?
Yeah, yep.
Thank you.
I volume up a little bit too, just in case. Thanks for letting me know. So with this model, what's going to be happening is you'll still have a bill with Xcel, and you'll have bill credits that Xcel will apply to your invoice. And in exchange for getting those bill credits, you'll have a bill from Cooperative Energy Futures that you will pay to us. This is all kind of laid out under this link that's on here. Sorry, the Zoom is covering part of my screen and it's distracting me, so I'm going to just rearrange it a little bit. Starting out where people are kind of familiar with. You have maybe seen people that have solar on their house, and for those things, you've got to own a building with a roof that you can put your panels on. You've got to have sun that makes it practical to put solar panels there. The panels need to be wired into the meter that you've got, and there's usually a large upfront cost involved in doing that. So to do solar panels requires having all of those things and taking on that debt, and in exchange for it, you receive the solar tax credits and benefits. With community solar, it's open up to homeowners and renters that have just an Xcel Energy bill that meet the other qualifying geographical requirements. You don't need to have good solar access on your property. You don't need to make physical changes to our home. You don't have any monthly upfront costs, and we've made our financing set up in such a way that you don't need to have a credit check even, and you then don't receive solar tax credits, but you do receive the benefits of the credits paid out. The solar gardens themselves have been around for a while, and this is all made possible by state law. The initial gardens that kind of started kind of flooding the market, you'll notice there's a lot of actual utility gardens that are put in. So it's not just like people like us who are putting in solar gardens that we want to use to benefit community. The utilities would very much like to still control how everyone gets their power. And they're building solar gardens at the same time that they're kind of pretending that solar is not as efficient and effective as it really is, because they do recognize the value and they just want it to be something that they get to reap the benefits of. The early versions of the laws that made solar gardens possible also did not really do a very good job of targeting it towards residential customers. So a lot of the community solar gardens actually ended up going to corporate and institutional subscribers. You can see here that of the 2018 numbers that we got, 85% of that still was actually to larger organizations. And only 15% is that residential stuff that really the spirit of the rules and the laws was intended to provide for. There's not an unlimited amount of places to put solar panels. The energy itself is abundant and coming down everywhere, but there's kind of a rush to get those viable spots. And so that's kind of where we're in this mix, competing with all these other big players and just trying to kind of change the narrative a little bit so that individuals and residential customers are the ones who are getting the benefit of this vital natural resource. We think that community should involve community access. We want everyone to be able to participate. We don't want it to be exclusive to people that have already had all the benefits of, historic, just wealth and whatnot. Community creation. We want our local governments and organizations to launch projects that help their community. Right now, we're working with Eric, who's had kind of like some involvement there, helping us with the government for our Clarence City project. We've worked more directly with some governments in like Eden Prairie and Edina, putting actual arrays on some of the large government buildings. It always remains a focus of like where we're trying to go. Any place where there's like a really large facility, which oftentimes is government. We think that community ownership is important for these things because the utilities that have been running the large power plants and utility productions thus far, they have kind of just a different set of motivations. And it's not really going to get us where we need to go in the long run if we keep letting them make all the decisions about how those utilities are going to go. And we want our gardens to create community wealth, not just in the credits that we're putting on your bill, but in job creation, business development, all those benefits, the spillover benefits from creating clean local energy should spill out and benefit the community in a way that they don't when these arrays are owned and operated for the utilities or corporate interests. Here are some pictures of some of the projects that we have done already. This is for the groundbreaking for Shiloh Temple. It was like an interfaith project. There's some backing from like the church that it's located on, a local mosque. We had local political leaders there. The community was highly subscribed in the garden. It's a good embodiment of what our goal is, the kind of project that we want to facilitate for the benefit of everybody that's involved in it. Oops, I went backwards here. One of our commitments has been to try to make sure that our construction people that we kind of contract out through to do the actual building will hire a local workforce. And so some of the people that we've actually had as workers are also subscribers and members who then have gone on to run for and serve as board members, really kind of taking that idea of energy democracy that both CURE and CEF have kind of at the center of our mission, like just into action. We want people to have a voice and influence on how policy decisions that are going to affect their lives are made. This one, I believe, is Edina. Tim can correct me if I'm wrong on that. I'm newer with cooperative energy futures. Oh, I'm going fast now. I've hit the fast forward button. Let's just go back to some of these. The roof mounts on buildings are a great way to utilize public space that is otherwise just being wasted. They're also kind of a challenging build, but it's worth it to use those underutilized spaces to deliver that benefit back to the community. This one here is one that was built on top of the A ramp in downtown Minneapolis. And it's a challenging spot because in addition to being a parking ramp 4 stories up in the air, it happens to be over a highway bridge, which meant that permitting required the federal government to be also kind of signing off on what we wanted to do. And this is the kind of thing that maybe if we were only interested in slapping up as many panels as we could, subscribing large industrial subscribers and moving on, we might undertake projects like this. But together, we're finding any opportunity we can. The actual array for Clare City is going to be a ground mount. So it'll be more like this one. And in that case, we have the opportunity to make sure that we're planting kind of local plants, pollinator-friendly habitat around the gardens. We've made commitments to kind of try to minimize the aesthetic impact because the fields of solar arrays that are sprouting up, aren't necessarily something that everybody wants to have replacing kind of green spaces. If I can get control of my scrolling speed, we'll get back to kind of why we are a co-op and not a business that does this. If you are a business, you've got the owner making decisions and making the money. You've got the employees who are paid a wage, and you've got customers who kind of pay the money in to make all that kind of happen. Corporations, which includes all the utilities that we really generally consider, or at least Excel, who we have to work under the footprint of, have decisions made by the shareholders, the board that's elected in their name, the profits going to the shareholders, employees that work there get the benefit of some of the money from the customers, but all of the decisions and all of the kind of things that determine where that money is going and to what end the utility is doing its activity are driven really by shareholders who are maximizing their own personal profits. There's a lot of community impacts that large fossil fuel burning utilities have that aren't necessarily in the best interests of anybody except for those shareholders. And only then in that very narrow interest of if they ignore kind of their, living on the planet with us. A co-op, though, in comparison, members are the ones making the decisions. Members are driving like the board's directions. They're voting in the elections. The people who operate it are employees who, again, the board, which was empowered by the members, has selected. And the customers who use the service are the same members who are benefiting from the service. So our model with the co-op kind of at the core of it is really structural. It's part of the whole overall energy democracy thing, that it be organized in that way. Oh. All right, I'm going to use the keyboard to navigate from now on. The mouse is not working for me. This image kind of shows where we're at right now and where we would prefer things to be. Right now, we've got large centralized energy production factories, essentially, owned by monopolies of people who are making decisions based on profits. They control the costs that go into the bills and kind of keep upping that for the purpose of funneling that wealth back to the shareholders. And the unintentional but predictable consequences of that are pestilence, pollution, and death for the planet. Conversely, with community solar gardens, cooperatively owned and run, we aren't having that negative impact. We are producing that power that we need to live our modern lives. We're delivering those benefits back to the co-op members who subscribe. And as we kind of build out all that available space and find new ways to kind of localize that into the local communities, it's a good pathway builder. One thing that we do as a co-op, beyond just building these gardens and subscribing, is that we work with other groups who are trying to kind of do their own solar programs. We in Minnesota are lucky to have state laws that make the community solar gardens possible. And we've had some stumbling points in that where too much was allowed to go to large corporate interests and things like that. Other states maybe are kind of not as far along that path. They might have the chance to kind of write their laws the right way the first time. And we work with them to kind of help them troubleshoot that. People that are also interested in kind of setting up their own systems, we help share our expertise with that. Our process is just kind of, it's not a means to an end of amassing wealth. It's a process. It's something that we want to just keep building and keep expanding. And the more members that we get to join in, the more we can do. So every single member that joins is not only getting a benefit for themselves and influencing and benefiting the world at large, but they're helping us to kind of increase our collective might to push things in the direction that we know they need to be, and that they just won't be if we let decision making be based on this same old tried and failed model that's delivered us to kind of where the utilities are today. So join us. You should become a member of Cooperative Energy Futures so that you are eligible to be a subscriber of our community solar gardens. But even people who can't, because of perhaps not having an Xcel Energy bill, can still help us by locating host sites for us, or if you have a suitable site, letting us know and helping us work with you to see if it can be developed into a solar garden. You can also invest in the co-op as a member. We have kind of a preferred stock option that helps kind of just fund what we do. And that brings us to kind of the point of this meeting. So Eric and Cure are going to be reaching out to their members to get as many interested people as we can signed up for our Clara City project. We're already ready to start taking in the applicants. So all you really need to do is you can use this link that's provided up here for the Clara City sign up, which you'll probably have to transcribe. I'm sure Eric will share it with the group. This is going to take down all of your information, just your address, your name, your phone number, so we can get in touch with you. I would recommend very highly that you have your Xcel Energy bill when you go through that sign up process, because if you can make sure that your account number and a number called the premise number, which the form itself actually will help you figure out where that is. If that's all entered, we can jump you right to the next step, which Eric will be helping us complete, of getting an agency agreement, which is how we reach out to Xcel Energy and get permission to get access to your usage history. Once we've completed that process, we'll be able to figure out how large of a subscription we could give you in the garden. And then someone from Community Power or CEF will be reaching out to walk you through in detail exactly what your subscription would look like, what your projected savings would be over the life of the project, more details really about just like how the whole structure is set up, and answer any questions that you've got. Those consultations are as in-depth as you want them to be. Some take half an hour, some are closer to an hour. And we're just happy to do that because our goal isn't just to maximize sales numbers. It's to educate new members that are going to join our co-op, that are going to help with our vision, that are going to benefit along with us all in like just seizing back control over our power system. Once you have gone through those conversations, you'll have a chance to sign the subscription agreement, the membership agreement, and the co-op. There is a one-time $25 lifetime membership fee. You can set up for payment to be made automatically from a checking account. And then you're kind of set. You can coast for a while and just watch the newsletters and see if there's any kind of action that we're calling for. And when the garden finally goes operational, you start getting credits on your bill, and you'll start getting a new invoice from Cooperative Energy Futures that is going to always be a lower bill than the credit you're receiving the same month, because both of those amounts are going to be calculated based on how much your portion of the solar garden actually produced. And the multiplier is always in your favor as far as the credit being higher than the bill. Some people that are signing up kind of like get this right away, but it's just good to kind of to lay out that by signing up for a community solar garden, you are not off grid. You're not now just only using solar energy. You still are connected to Xcel's grid, which can be good because if there's a massive storm or power outage, you're not going to wait for me and Tim to get into my minivan and drive down and figure out what's going on. It's still Xcel handling everything with their infrastructure. They're doing all of that. We're a power producer. We're adding power to their grid and they're buying it from us. And then they're reimbursing us. And you as a subscriber are doing something to kind of offset the need for the utility to fire up their large fossil fuel-based production facilities quite so often. We're displacing the need for fossil fuel energy in the grid by putting more green energy in. So your subscription for 120% of what you're using is kind of helping to just like, you know, put the brakes on a little bit of what we can do. And then other people around the grid are going to use that power for their processes with no difference in how it performs or anything else. The grid will still be running 24/7. Nobody gets a blackout because it's cloudy or anything like that. It's all kind of connected. This one, I forgot to edit one word here. This is the Clare City Community Center Solar Garden, not the Eden Prairie one. But the numbers here are correct for Clare City. This is going to be a pretty good sized 1.4 megawatt system. It's going to be available for residents of Chippewa County and every county adjacent to Chippewa County, which is based on state law. That's probably going to end up being about 150 households, dependent on how large your electric usage is. You know, the bigger your bill, the bigger the benefit, but also the more space you're going to take up in the array. And we'll take you any way you want to come. Small is like part of how we built our model this way, is to accommodate people who otherwise could not get a system that was even small enough for, you know, being maybe less than a panel in size. The estimated timeline that we have, and this is subject to like factors including Xcel and, you know, the supply chain issues that are bedeviling everything else in the world. Our subscriptions are opening in March, so right now. So you can sign that form right now and get in there. Once we've hit 60% of the capacity of that 1.4 megawatt system, we'll be able to start talking to the builders and getting bids for who's going to be actually constructing it. And then construction begins. We expect still to be able to start that in just this summer. And if everything goes smoothly, it could be up and running before the end of the year or into next spring. This is an aerial of where this garden is going to be. And some of the features on here are actually just more for the engineering side of it. But you can get an idea of the size of the space that it's going to occupy, kind of the little power line connecting it over there to Xcel's system is more of a consideration on our end, but it's the kind of thing that has to be figured out to make a space viable. We can't just put it on any field that there is. We have to have one someplace where we can connect to a large transmission line and also where the surrounding area isn't like currently overserved by the production that Xcel already has in place. Clarity checks all those boxes. It's passed all those qualifying tests. We know that this space is viable and ready to go. And the only thing that we need to move it to the next step is subscribers. So once we get to that 60%, then we can start filling that field in with panels and greenery. And then it will start producing. And when it's producing power, you're going to be getting a credit on your bill for the portion that your section of the array built. The bill credit that you'll get every month is just going to be based exclusively on how much the garden produces and what percentage of that production is allocated to you. It's likely that you will still have a utility bill almost every month, but it is possible that it could reduce it so far that if you have a very low usage month in a summer thing, that you'll have no bill at all from Xcel and only a credit and a bill from us. This is why we know that you'll always benefit. So the way that these credits and our bills are calculated comes down to a simple multiplier. The garden produces energy, and the billable amount of energy is a kilowatt hour. It's a usage of energy over time. We meter out everything that the garden has produced. We take your percentage and we know what your allocation is. In this case, we've got a garden that produced 150,000 kilowatt hours in the month and a subscriber with 0.5%, no, hundredths of it. It's a small allocation, but it ends up being, they get 810 kilowatt hours of the production of the garden allocated to them. Now that same 810 kilowatts is getting multiplied out by this 10.9 cents per kilowatt hour credit from Xcel to you, and you get billed at 10 cents per kilowatt hour. Because it's all based on what your allocation is producing, and because the multiplier is always larger on the credit side, you can't not benefit from it. The worst case scenario, if like a tornado or something takes out our production and the garden goes down, you're back to just having your Xcel bill. Because if we're not producing power, you're not going to receive a bill from us. And you're not going to receive like a bill saying that we need to rebuild the array, because we're in charge of handling the insurance, the warranties, the production, and all that kind of stuff. All that is covered in that 10 cents per kilowatt hour that we're billing you. So the subscriber benefits, like you are participating in community solar, you're not having to pay anything up front other than that $25 membership fee. You're getting credits as soon as the power is flowing. And as long as you meet the eligibility requirements and we have space for you, pretty much anybody at all can participate. We use your historic use to find out how much we can allocate to you. If we could allocate the entire array to one person, they would clearly have a very large benefit. The law doesn't let us do that. And that's to the good. We don't want it to all amass in one person's hand. We don't want it to just be like the business model where it only benefits the shareholders. We're spreading that out to everybody that can participate as much as we can. That $25 membership fee is the only one that you would have to pay to be able to subscribe. There's no other upfront costs unless you want to do a different model that we offer where you don't get a bill from us every month, but you have a substantial upfront payment. We can discuss all of that when you're further along in the process with subscriptions, or it's available on our website. But we'll really kind of focus more on that monthly for what we're talking about here today. One of the other benefits, though, of the community solar gardens is that you have some flexibility in moving around in the service area. And this is particularly important for people like renters who maybe are more flexible in their living and will be relocating several times, possibly within close proximity. As long as you move someplace that is still in any of those surrounding counties, from the county where the power is being produced, we can resize you based on the usage of your new property. You do still have to be an Xcel customer. And if you have, the same usage, you can move your whole subscription. If your usage there is much lower, you might have to only remove part of it, or you might even be eligible for an increase once you move. You don't have to unbuckle the panels from your roof and slap them on your car. You can just kind of jump around wherever you want to. If you, for any reason, just want to discontinue, or if you are leaving the service area altogether and aren't going to be able to keep it, we only ask that you give us 3 months of advance notice, or 2 months if you can provide us with the name of somebody who'd be willing to take over your subscription for you. If you're doing upfront, you're going to be paying for 25 years of solar credits all at once. In this example, it's $1,750 per kilowatt. And then you have an annual bill that you pay instead of having that monthly. When you're monthly, the annual bill is just kind of cooked in there, and that covers things like management and maintenance of the array, just the general functioning of the co-op. If you move, you can transfer it the same way as you otherwise would. And if you exit the subscription early, you get back a prorated portion of what you paid up front. When you do pay up front, you pay a chunk right after you subscribe, you pay another large chunk when we start our construction, and you pay some more right when the garden goes operational. So if you want to do that, it does have a higher payout over the length of the garden, but you are going to be helping us kind of float that money for a while at the beginning. So you won't be instantaneously in the green as soon as you get your first credits back. As a member of the co-op, you've got the ability to subscribe to our gardens. You also get to run for board positions, vote in our elections, and the larger our community gets, the more things we're coming up with that we would like to offer as part of that. Cooperative Energy Futures, before solar gardens were a thing, kind of started out as a bulk buying of energy efficiency materials. And we would like to get back to that sometime. If there's a way that we can benefit the co-op by providing things using just our combined buying power, we're always happy to hear those suggestions and interested to see whatever we can do in that way. Next steps. You can find out more about us at our website. You can sign up for the garden. You can reach out to Eric or to me, or call Cure if you've got questions about signing up with them. And we'll also be able to take any questions that anyone's got here right now. That's the end of our presentation. We just want you to kind of look forward to that future where we're all working together to expand energy democracy and build a system that works for all of us. If there are any questions, I can take them now.
Alan?
Yes.
My name is Yana. So my husband passed away almost 2 years ago, and he bought into a solar garden in Clare City through Clearway Community Solar. And after he passed away, it took about a year. I wanted to cancel it. And I looked into the agreement. And even after his death, they made me transfer it to me. And it took like 2 months of back and forth emails, and it was horrible. Since then, I think I have saved maybe quarterly, maybe $10. And every month they take money out of my account and then they put it towards Xcel. I live in New London. I live the same town as Eric. So I have Xcel. And I looked up many times on Better Business Bureau, and it's the same story over and over and over again. After then I switch over and I have an agreement, and the agreement is the contract is for 23 years. And the only way to get out of the contract is if I sell it to somebody else that's interested, or I pay $600.
That is
It's
not our
awful.
model.
And Better Business Bureau, if you look up Clearway Community Solar Garden, they're out of, I thought they were out of Texas, but I think they're out of California, and they are in Minnesota, several places in Minnesota and Massachusetts. And it's horrible. I have sat down so many times to compare the price of what I pay them every month and what they credit the Xcel bill. And it's not that I have lost a lot of money, but the process of doing all of this. And since then, there has been at least another door-to-door salesperson come to my street, and another neighbor signed up with one company, and I think there was a third company that came too within this past year. So I'm not going to cancel it now, but I think I could actually sign on with this for $25, and maybe I'll just save more money. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
You might not be able to at least fully subscribe with us, but we will take time to see if you could.
How is that?
Well, that same 120% cap that prevents us from oversubscribing somebody is going to be what they're working under right now. So they might have you subscribed for like 90% of like what they could. And there might be some room above that where we could still get you up to the 120%. But like Xcel won't let you stack 3 or 4 solar subscriptions to more than 120%. You'll still be kind of capped at that. But
well, I would like to, at a different time, maybe we can just visit about it. But I just thought I would mention it, and I think I have mentioned it to Eric as well.
Yeah.
I just don't want anybody else to buy into this because it was horrible. I mean, it's just.
I think it's a great example of exactly why that co-op model is so important, because these big companies that came in to take advantage of the way that the community solar garden law was originally set up in Minnesota. I mean, some of them were involved in kind of like creating some of the loopholes that let them sign up just the big corporate things. And when those got closed, they kind of just moved on and thought, all right, well, any place where we can get an array up, we will just strong arm people into signing up for it. And the pitch is kind of easy if you just kind of stick with, we'll produce power and it will give you a credit on your bill. And then all the fine print that you're not being really given a chance to read or explain. I heard from one guy that was saying that they go door to door, they call Xcel on the emergency line, they lie about why they're calling them, they ask for the history over the phone, they force people to sign up right then and there. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of safeguards in our process that kind of stop that from happening. Like the first thing is that we're doing the getting your usage history. That's so that we can actually get you locked in at an amount that we know won't change after you sign the subscription. Like if we are talking about it and then a month of new usage comes in, your usage could be a little different than it was before. We're going to actually get you to a point where Xcel Energy has you in their system and it won't change. And then we get you through the whole document. We go through everything in the subscription. We give you as many different kinds of ways to really look at it as you can. And then if you want to not do it, that's fine. We generally have kind of a lot of extra subscribers that we're just waiting to kind of work through the process. And our process is more time consuming. But we aren't trying to swoop in, like get the sale and zip on off to the next thing. We're trying to get co-op members, like members who are going to stay with us. Like it's going to be me and Tim who are still talking with you for as long as we're with us.
But so my question is, you said 150 household on average. You're thinking, is that because you're taking an average of how much people usually will be using for power, and you can only produce so much, so there can only be like 150 households in the Chippewa County and adjacent areas? And I don't quite understand the areas. Is that adjacent counties?
Adjacent counties. Yep. So all
counties.
adjacent Chippewa. Yep.
Okay.
So it's a pretty good footprint, but it has to be an Xcel customer. So like if you're in one of those surrounding areas and you're in one of the power co-ops that's not with Xcel, there's ineligibility there. Xcel Energy got singled out to have community solar gardens in it, partially because they produce nuclear power. When they got permits to build those plants, they said that they would do something with the nuclear waste and get it out of the state, and they never did. So, a law was passed that said that they now need to allow community solar. They aren't like a huge fan of what we're doing. Like we're, I think, probably like one of their preferred community solar gardens because we don't have all the problems that the other ones do. But they would still prefer to own it all. They don't want like anybody else in their system, but they have to. Like they're strong armed in there. And our 25-year agreement with our co-op, because we do have the very easy way of just backing out as long as you tell us you want to back out. What you're really getting that 25-year commitment for is that's how long Xcel Energy is obligated to pay a predictable rate that we already have figured out under the state rule of what solar has to be compensated for. In addition to the rule saying they have to allow us in, there's a law saying they have to provide us with a certain payment because if they could just pay us less, that it wouldn't really be viable. So they have to be forced to pay us enough to make it work. They have to be forced to let us in there. And then they're locked in. Our 25-year agreement for the whole garden says they have to keep honoring these commitments for that whole time period. And our agreements with you say that we would appreciate it if you would let us know 90 days before you want to leave. We do have in our contract the ability to charge up to a $75 early cancellation fee if you said, I'm gone, I don't want it anymore. And that's largely because if we don't have a residential customer on the other end of this system, Xcel doesn't have to pay us as much. We have our system kind of built up so that we have backup people we can give them to, but it doesn't get us the same kind of rate if we don't have somebody there for a little while. So $75 is enough to get us whatever we would have lost, we get somebody else subscribed. And if we get them subscribed before that, we generally don't have to charge that fee. But our co-op members are well informed about the whole process and they know, and they're, connected with us. They can reach us when they want to. And they generally do, if they're selling their house, just like that, will give us every notice that we need to just turn it off.
I wanted to just really briefly jump in and just say, I think one of the things that we've heard from a lot of members that's very useful is, as staff of the co-op, we take direct direction from a board of directors, which is made up of members and elected by members. So there's unlike a lot of these private companies where they don't have accountability to the people that they're serving. If you're upset with something, we will hear about it and our job is to fix it. Because that's directly who we take direction from, is people in the community who are subscribed and who are gaining benefits. And we're developing these projects to develop profit for our members.
Yeah, you don't really have to ask for the boss if you are the boss. These are good questions and good concerns, because I would hate for you to kind of hear about all this kind of stuff and think, yes, but I heard that there was other solar gardens that are shady, and kind of think, well, I'm not getting the full picture. We will always give you as much as we can with that.
And that's not why I mentioned my experience, because I think I'm getting the whole idea about what a community solar co-op idea is. So I just thought I would, because I've gone to the extent of thinking of, getting a lawyer or something, because I think it's so unethical, so it was not, I understand what this is all about. And I just got very frustrated with this whole thing. It was very convoluted, and when you look at this agreement, 25 years is like, what? Anyway, thank you for listening.
Yeah, no, we kind of feel like we're maybe some of the only ones out here that are really trying to do the community solar garden the hard way, that we can get the best, most benefits for it, maybe in the way that it was most originally in its most pure intention envisioned. And there's a ton of people that are just using the loopholes to try to oversubscribe and like underinform. And, you know, we don't want that to happen. We want to make this system something that is stronger and better and that other people can use. But in the meantime, accept no substitutions. Only qualified cooperative energy future solar gardens will do.
Alan, we had a couple of questions in the chat about, or asking if like small businesses or churches or nonprofits with, you know, brick and mortar offices would be eligible for participation as well.
Right now, we can have perhaps some small commercial things, but we're really only able to do it if they're doing the upfront payment model. The rate that we get reimbursed for providing it through a company is a little bit less, and it makes it a little tougher to make it viable. But we do have to hit certain thresholds of upfront payments to make our financing all add up at the front end. So if we have some space for upfront subscribers still, which we would prefer if it was upfront residential subscribers, but if there's still some room that we need to fill with upfront, we are happy to bring in partner organizations that we have worked with that sometimes are the same groups that are out there kind of like recruiting their members to sign up for their other things. Like, we want to be a good community partner with them, and we do try to, if we can, subscribe them for that upfront chunk is kind of our only window right now. The value of solar that we're working under, it's, you know, this is the 2020 value of solar. It's going to change, you know, next time they change the law on it. So maybe those rates change. Maybe we can kind of get some stuff in. But there were problems with the solar garden model early on because there was no restriction about the big companies, and they would fill an array with 5 companies and call it community solar. And that's not really the spirit of the thing. I didn't see if there was other chat messages there or not.
Oh, those are the questions that we had coming in chat so far. Any other questions from folks tonight?
Well, if not, it's been a privilege to just come, and I hope that this recording goes out to everybody in the organization and that there's maybe lots more questions that we'll be happy to answer at that point too. My information is right there on the screen. And, you know, it's just been a pleasure getting to know you all and to work with Eric, and I'm looking forward to getting a lot of you signed up and into our co-op.